Another fine mess. I tuned into BBC Question Time for the edition before last expecting it to be appalling, and of course I wasn't disappointed. But I put myself through it because it came from Dundee, a city which I have a great emotional attachment to. It used to be known for jute, jam and journalism, now it's for drug deaths and Brian Cox. I rather hoped Fiona Bruce and the panellists would be sitting on metal buckets, but it wasn't to be, probably because none of them was actually from the city. It didn't sound as if many of the audience were either, judging by the accents. One of the panellists was Alex Massie, who has about 3 jobs, but this time he was representing the Scottish edition of the Times, the McChunterer. He's a columnist, so he may have a way with words but clearly lacks essential hand-eye coordination because he had a huge stain on one of his jacket lapels. I've been backstage at one of these events and they put on a lavish meal beforehand, so I can only assume that he dribbled his foie gras or moules marinière and no one had the heart to tell him. It did not go unnoticed, however, among his watching colleagues, to whom he is now known as Alex Massie. Time for questions. The BBC, like the commercial channels, has a quota for spending and programme commissioning in Scotland, which is meant to encourage independence and germinate new local talent and great programming. This potential source of additional revenue did not escape the major London-based companies, like Menton, which set up a Glasgow office so it could game the system, pass the tartan test and win commissions, like Corner Shop Cook-Off and, of course, Question Time. Menton is owned by a Welsh-based company called Tinopolis, whose parent company is the mega-rich and acronymic DMWSL 660, with a turnover last year of more than £227 million, all but a groat or a caneog coming from programme sales. Some independent. Storm in a toilet bowl. Why do all these weather squalls have Catholic names? A mate of mine jokingly asked, and not ones like Storm Billy or Calvin? Well, they were historically named after male saints, and only since 1979 have they alternated with female names. However, a recent study showed that feminine-named storms caused significantly more deaths, apparently because they lead to lower perceived risk and consequently less preparedness. That's what happens to sexists, they get their houses blown down. Which brings me to Bernoulli's principle, named after the 18th century mathematician Daniel, which explains why the water in your toilet goes up, or more usually down, when there's a gale. What do you mean you've never noticed? I don't pretend to understand his equation as I was off school the day they did sums, but it involves pressure, velocity, fluid dynamics and all sorts of jiggery-pokery. So, the water in your. For more on this story, visit the news article link.